What's going down, folks? It's your boy C23 back on the sticks once again with another Madden 17 franchise video for you guys. And with the regular season in the books now, it's time to focus our attention on the wild card playoff round. But of course, that's all contingent on the EA servers actually functioning properly. I tried to play this game about 3 or 4 different times last night, and eventually I just gave up because I kept getting this error code saying that the connection was lost to the EA servers. So unfortunately, due to EA having server maintenance or their servers going down or whatever the case is, there will be no gameplay video on the channel this morning, folks. What I'm going to do instead is just a quick season recap for you guys, because I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to show you the season stats because you want to find out who the MVP is, who the league leader in this category is, and coach of the year and all that. So that's what's going to be covered in this video, you guys. Now, if you guys are wondering what happened in week 16 against the Saints, I made the executive decision as the head coach slash GM that I'm not going to risk injury to any of my players when we've already clinched a playoff spot. So I pretty much rested everybody. I benched the starters on both offense and defense and pretty much had an exhibition game in week 17. Now, Tevin Coleman did break off a pretty nice run in this one, and that's what you're seeing here. But besides that, there really isn't anything to show you guys in this one. Later in the game, Tevin Coleman did get another carry at the goal line, and he ended up punching that one in for the score. But those are the only highlights in this one. As you can see, we ended up losing that one 35-7. So our regular season record this season was 10-6, and like I said earlier, we'd already clinched the wild card berth, so that last game against the Saints was meaningless. I know it was against the Saints, Falcons fans, but I'd rather make it to the playoffs as healthy as possible instead of trying to play my starters just for a meaningless win. Now, taking a quick look at the league news, you can see that Ron Rivera is the coach of the year, and also that Russell Wilson was a league MVP. Now, I find that a little bit interesting because the Seahawks are a wild card team, just like my Falcons are here. Now, with that being the case, why didn't Julio get nominated for MVP? And of course, I'm being biased here, but I'm just throwing it out there. Julio had a pretty solid year too. Now, taking a quick look at the Falcons player stats, Matt Ryan finished with 3,420 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 94.9. Devontae Freeman led the league in rushing with 1,629 yards, but he only had 7 touchdowns. Now, Julio, on the other hand, he put up 22 touchdowns, which is first in the NFL, and 1,601 receiving yards, which is second in the league. Now, taking a quick look at how that compares in the NFL record book, Julio was 1 touchdown away from tying Randy Moss with 23 touchdowns in the season. Now, I know you guys are probably going to kill me on that because he could have gotten that last touchdown and probably more in that last game versus the Saints, but I really just couldn't risk it, you guys. I mean, could you imagine if Julio would have gotten hurt and not been able to play in the playoffs? That would pretty much guarantee a loss. So again, I couldn't risk it there, you guys. Now, looking at the NFL's passing leaders, Big Ben leads the league with 5,037 yards on the season, Blake Bortles with 4,815 on the year, Andy Dalton with 4,611, and Tom Brady and Brock Osweiler round out your top 5. Now, moving on to the league's rushing leaders, like I said earlier, Devontae Freeman led the league in rushing with 1,629 yards in the season. He's followed up by Adrian Peterson with 1,442 yards, Gio Bernard with 1,423 yards, and Sims, McCoy, and Charles wrap up the top backs for the season. Now, taking a quick look at the receivers list, Des Bryant has 1,620 yards receiving, which earns him the top spot, followed by Julio Jones at 1,601 receiving yards. Then we've got Robinson at 1,588, D. Hopkins at 1,435, and B. Marsh at 1,433 on the season. Now, on to the defensive side of the ball, J.J. Watt is your sack leader with 22.5 sacks on the season, followed by Graham with 18.5, Justin Houston with 17, Chris Long had 14.5 sacks. Really? And trust me, I'm not taking a shot at Chris Long here. I'm just surprised by the overall number. Whatever the Patriots are putting in the water up there must be working because he's had single-digit sacks the last, 2 or 3 seasons. And the only reason I know that is because the Falcons were looking at him at one point. But anyway, I'm running off on a tangent. Taking a look at the interception leaders, Joe Hayden and Marcus Peters both have 7, Luke Kuechly has 6, Darrelle Revis has 6, and Pac-Man, Bro, and Jenkins finished the list off with 5. And I think that's how you say his last name. It looks like Bro to me. I'm sorry if I'm messing it up, you guys. If I am, go ahead and correct me in the comments. Now, the league leader in tackles is Brandon Marshall with 150, followed by Bostic with 148, Davis has 147, Buchanan with 144, and McClain with 141. We've got to try to get one of the Falcons linebackers on that list next season, folks. folks. Now, like I mentioned earlier in the video, Russell Wilson is your league MVP. The runners-up were Cam Newton and Andy Dalton, respectively, and it's crazy because I get to take on the league MVP in my very first playoff game this season. That should be interesting. The Coach of the Year award goes to Ron Rivera with the Panthers that went 13-3 on the season. The runner-up there was Jason Garrett, and even Dan Quinn got honorable mention at the third spot right there. So not a bad year for Coach Quinn. If somehow we could have gotten a couple of more wins, maybe he would have been the Coach of the Year, but still not a bad year overall. Now, folks, we've got a couple of big decisions that we're going to have to make going into this wild card matchup against the Seahawks. First off, Ricardo Allen is coming back from an injury. The doctors have already cleared him, saying that he can play with it, but there's a pretty high chance of re-injury. In addition to that, his awareness, injury rating, and strength rating will drop a bit, but my philosophy going into this is it's all hands on deck. There is no guaranteed game next week, so we're going to need every available starter on the field in this game right here, folks. So we're going to go ahead and take the risk and tell Ricardo it's time to strap him up and get ready to go. Now, we've also got to make a similar decision on Keanu Neal, who's been out the last 4 weeks with a shoulder tear. But you know what, you guys? If the medical staff is making him available for me to play him, I'm going to plug him in. Like I said earlier, it's the playoffs. We need all hands on deck. We are not messing around. And look at the difference between Keanu Neal and our backup safety Godfrey, 81 compared to 73. We definitely got to get that talent on the field, folks. So we're not going to worry too much about the re-injury factor. If it happens, hey, the guys have the entire offseason to recover. But anyways, folks, that's just about all the time I got in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to do my best to get the gameplay up for the playoffs for you guys tonight or tomorrow. But again, that all depends on the EA servers and if they're live and ready to go. But like I said earlier, that's my time. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'm signing off, and I'll see you in the next one.